So how are we taking this way? That way, or
it's
just
straight across. This is the deep part over here. There's not much water left. All right, now we're gonna start floating now. So now we're floating, you see? All right, right up the hill. Go ahead, gun it, gas it.
So you want me to turn around?
Yeah, however you want to do it. Yeah, turn around and do it again. I may not have a Humvee anymore, but I still have my Argo. It's not as good as a Humvee, though, but it's still a lot of fun. Yeah, you gotta gas it, really gas it. There we go. What do you think? All right, I gotta keep this little girl out of the way. She wants to go underneath the Humvee, and you ain't going underneath the Humvee. Bye, bud. So John is letting his son drive her home. That's awesome. I know, sweetie. I'm gonna miss her too. She's a good ride. Thank you, guys. Muchas gracias. All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit about why we sold the Humvee and our plans moving forward. Can I just watch her for 1 minute? Can I just watch her go down the driveway? Just one last time. A lot of folks can joke about men and their toys, boys and their toys. But at some point you have to take and evaluate what's more important to you. And even though the Humvee has been a whole lot of fun, there's a lot more important things happening right here around us that need our immediate attention than this boy and his toy. Guys, we have no grass, and this is the second year in a row that our animals, our grazing animals, have had to go without. We've made efforts to plant the right kind of grass, but it could be a while before we ever get to see the fruits of that labor. And so Jamie and I are going to take the monies from the sale of the Humvee and put that down on a piece of property. Guys, we haven't found the property yet, but what we do know is that we're going to find a piece of property that has good grass, that already has good grass. Grass that is ready for our babies now. You like that idea? I've made numerous videos of pastures all around us that, even despite the same drought conditions that we're going through now, because they have the right kind of grass seeded in their pastures, they still have good grazing grass. Their animals are not struggling like ours are. And so we thought to ourselves that we need to make that kind of investment for the animals' well-being, because this may be a 2-year drought that we've been experiencing, but who's to say that it's not going to happen again next year or the next year? And so to have that additional acreage, and the general rule of thumb is an acre per large animal, and that's if you don't feed them grains. So I told Jamie we need to look for a 10 to 20 acres. 10 to 20 acres would be the minimum. And then what we'll do is, on the years that we don't need to move any animals over, we can take that same pasture and use it for for baling into our rolls of dry hay. Everyone knows that we go through about 50 rolls of dry hay a year. And right now we're using my Aunt Joanne's pasture, and she hasn't had a problem with us doing that. But I've also talked about recently that Aunt Joanne has gotten her land surveyed, and I know for a fact that her goals are to divide that land up amongst the kids at some point. She doesn't want to sell any more of it than what she's already sold to me. So that means that when that day happens, I could very likely lose those 20 acres of baling. And so that would mean that if we were to buy our own pastures, the years that we're not grazing it, we could bale it to always give us a winter supply. So it's an investment. It's a wise investment. It's smart. We're not taking the money and traveling the world. We're not taking the money and doing, things, we're doing things for the animal's best interest. And for that, even though it's kind of bittersweet to see the Humvee go, I'll feel a whole lot better at night knowing that there's an additional pasture if we need it, with, and I will say it again, with the right kind of grass already growing. And like I said, look how big this bird is. That's Susan. She's huge. She's freaking huge. She should be named Big Bertha. We should call her Big Bertha. I want to make sure that everyone knows that we're not selling and moving from Longhorn Lester's. This was my dream, and I don't give up on dreams that easily. Now, I sometimes have to alter things, or sometimes dreams have to go on hold. But, well, I will say this, Longhorn Lester's was the second very large purchase that I made using my YouTube money. So, it's Longhorn Lester's is not going up for sale. I will continue to live here, and Longhorn Lester's is my future, y'all. Longhorn Lester's is my future. Well, Longhorn Lester's and a whole lot of trips to Tractor Supply. Oh, great. That's what I needed. All that could wait until later, except I got a little calf who's hungry now. Why? Isn't that what always happens? Isn't that what always happens? In a recent video, I talked a little bit about how when you find yourself having to take a step back, a lot of folks will see that as a failure on your part. Boys, I'm coming close to turn the water off. You've been long enough in the sprinklers. But in reality, sometimes taking a step back for yourself, when it means a step forward for your animals, is not a failure at all. It's just the right thing to do if this in fact is what you do for a living, if this is your lifestyle, if this is what you've been doing, and this is who you live for. And I've always said that these animals, you don't have to be all startled and freak out, Carl. I'm just turning the water off. These animals are who take care of us. They do. These animals are who take care of us. And it's only right that we do anything in our power to take care of them and to give back to them. And that's always been one of my biggest complaints with some of the farm channels. Is you see, oh, I know, you see that too? Is you see folks that use the animals to pad their pockets, and you don't see a whole lot of return going back into those animals. And I hope that we're never perceived that way or seen that way. With the sanctuary being the forever home, and of course, moving so many of those rescues, those farm rescues here to Longhorn Lester's, is in addition, it's sort of an extension of I'm a Survivor. It is. Longhorn Lester's is fairly, I mean, pretty much an extension of I'm a Survivor. And so in saying so, we want our animals here and at the other property to have their best life. Be it the trees that offer them shade and protection, well, an eventual pasture that will offer them good grazing, a pond where they can find themselves a nice cool drink of water, nice fresh water troughs, protection and safety, just an overall great life. You want your animals to have a wonderful life. And right now, guys, I can't say that Longhorn Lester's is providing that. It's not. And so, you know, the funny thing is, I find myself, the human in me, the man in me, feels a little bit of embarrassment. And I said this, I think, in my video yesterday. I have to swallow some pride. Sometimes you got to swallow some pride and admit that you may have to take a personal step back. And there will be a lot of people who are going to laugh and scoff at the fact of, you know, seeing you struggle. That's human nature, y'all. That's just human nature. But it doesn't mean that we have to sit there, and instead we keep taking steps forward. And we do believe that the best step forward for us right now is to try to find a place for our animals, those that need the grazing, and give them a chance to graze. So our next step at this point is we've spoken to Stephanie. Now, Stephanie is my, I don't know if you call it a niece-in-law, sister-in-law. She's married to my nephew. Stephanie is a realtor by trade. That's her profession. She has a side hustle in making videos like I do. Denman Homestead. And we've asked her to help us look around for a piece of property that fits the criteria we told her about. And so Stephanie will get back with us, and we'll make a couple of trips. And I would like to bring you guys along, like we did it last time, a couple of years back when we bought Longhorn Lester's. We took you guys with us. We love your input. So just don't be surprised if I want you to know the why behind it. You know, when we were looking at Longhorn Lester's, I think that I allowed the topography of the property, the hills, the seclusion, you know, having neighbors, but far away neighbors, and having the shop being so far off the road, having the river here, the back of the property with the woods, yet the elevation being so high, there was never a fear of any kind of flooding. And all of those things, in a way, clouded my judgment of thinking about the nutritional needs of the animals. I found out that grass doesn't grow under white oak trees. You guys may know about that already. So if you have white oak, you're never going to have grass grow under them. I also know that the former owner had planted crabgrass, which is a ground cover. It doesn't grow this way, it grows this way. I will do my homework next time, I can promise you that. Anyway, thank y'all for watching and keeping us in your prayers, and that we can do the right thing for our babies, and always keeping them in mind as we move forward. Even though it may feel like it's a step back when I had to say goodbye to my Humvee. So, thank y'all for watching. I promise you, we'll survive this one, okay? We'll be fine.
Don't let your troubles fester. Come watch Longhorn Lester.
Yeah, something like that.